Hey, good evening. I'm really happy to have you here. My name is Daniel. I was a professional opera singer and beatboxer, and tonight we're going to be listening to Austin Brown's rendition of Bring Him Home from Les Miserables. So, I've seen Les Miserables twice, once live on Broadway and the movie version with Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe. And this musical is immensely emotionally enervating. But I still find it to be very beautiful, very lovely, and just, like I mentioned, just so enervating, which is why I don't particularly view it a lot, but it is still very beautiful, and it doesn't take away from its beauty. So I know that Austin has musical theater experience. I'm really excited to hear his own take on it and how he structures not just the music, but the emotional depth of the piece and how he internalizes that and executes it towards his audience. So ultimately, I'm just really excited to hear how he executes this piece, and I hope you guys are too. So without any further delay, let's just jump into it.
My prayer in my need.
Very nice.
You have always been there.
Oh, what a connecting thread.
He is young. He's afraid. Him rest, heaven blessed, bring him home, bring him home,
yeah,
bring him home.
Oh, those accents, so nice.
He's like the sun I might have known.
Nice.
If God had granted me a son.
Oh my gosh,
the
dude.
Summers die one by one. How soon they fly on and on. And I am old and will be gone. Bring him peace, bring him joy.
Yeah.
He is young, he is only a boy.
Nice.
You can take, you can give, let him be.
Oh my gosh, that control.
Let him live. If I die, let me die.
Oh my god.
Let him live. Bring him home. Bring him home. Bring him home.
Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my god. That final mix he did, where he just started in his head voice, it was so tender, and then he just mixed his chest voice, and it just became so powerful and beautiful with such a clean cutoff. Oh my gosh.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this cover of Bring Him Home. It's one of the greatest music theater, songs of all time, as far as I'm concerned. And it was an honor and
Little
privilege
bias
to get
there.
the opportunity to sing this for you. We have been working on it for a very long time. This is my good buddy Sebastian. He's been accompanying me today, as well as on many other things. And I just wanted to say thank you. You're seriously changing our life. Every comment goes so far. Every subscription, every liked video, it really helps the algorithm so much. And it allows us to make more music for you. And if you enjoyed this,
The same is true for me, too. So thank
of
you
this
all.
community, if you want to help us make more music videos, you can do this at austinbrownmusic.com. You'll get an MP3 of the song, every song we've ever done for that matter, if you're interested. There's an incredible community of light and love. We have a Facebook group that's private. We have a private Instagram where we get together and we share good vibes, good music,
Good for you,
good
man.
new friendships. We're all just growing so much there. And it's an honor to get to make music like this for everyone out there. So if you're interested, please check it out at austinbrownmusic.com.
I'm happy for you, man.
There, I can sing a song for you. Any song you want, Sebastian can accompany me on the piano. If you want a video message for your friends or for your family, if you're interested in me singing a demo of an original song that you wrote, any genre, I can do that for you. And if you don't see an option that you're interested in, or you want something
tough
else,
skill. Good job.
write
man.
us an email. Let us know what you're interested in. It's a
Sing
beautiful
any
day to be
genre.
alive.
Wow.
We're celebrating that together. So
I
thank
agree,
you
man.
so much for just everything. I'm eternally grateful. I can't say it enough. It means so much to me.
I feel the
that
same
you
way to all
allow
of
us
you.
This privilege of making music for our livelihoods. So thank you so much. Just thank you for everything. And please keep watching.
Yeah, that was just great. That was so good. Oh my goodness, dude. So some things that I want to talk about initially. One of the things is how he connects musical phrases, where he starts with one sentence and he breathes within that sentence so he has enough breath to end the sentence and carry over into the new sentence on one breath. So if he's doing Bring Him Breath Home, that makes actually a lot of sense when you want to create this kind of emotional drag that moves through the piece. And an example of that would be Bring Him Home, bring him home, where that home bring is it just carries so fluidly. So the breath after him in that first part of the sentence actually does make a lot of sense, and it just generates so much momentum carrying into each new musical cadence, and it was so well expressed in that. There were a couple of times where his breath placement wasn't optimized, let's say, and I'll point them out when we do the analysis, but overall, he did such an amazing job, and there were pure vowels and consonants that came through very well. His musical theater technique is so great too, where he just has the straight tone and then spins it at the very end. And that is a technique that I can't even do that well. I'm not that great with straight tones, mainly because opera is so focused on consistently spinning your breath. Opera singers are never mic'd. So when you're performing in an auditorium or a theater or especially an outdoor venue, it's a proclivity of opera singers to project all the way to the very back. And to have that breath spinning and be as robust as possible is definitely present. An example of me spinning my breath constantly could be done when I performed Leporello from Mozart's Don Giovanni, which is a very famous Mozart opera. And an example of that would be Mother mina, il cavallo le questo delle and the breath is just constantly spinning. In comparison to doing something very straight tone and then spinning the breath to add a little bit more emotional gravitas and weight, I think that's a very difficult technique to master, especially when for an opera singer whose brain is just so completely wrapped around the idea of needing to consistently spin your breath, it just becomes so second nature that doing anything outside of that nature is even more difficult. And we'll run over this in the analysis as well, but especially on Austin's spoken section, where he was speaking within the meter and had a little bit more fluidity in the way that he was singing. So the thing with opera is that it's is that connecting areas within musical numbers are called recitatives or recits. Some people call them recits, but the idea of it is that it's still sung, but it's not a quartet. It's not an aria or anything like that. It's just transitionary scenes that move the opera itself along. So doing those spoken scenes might sound something along the lines of Io deggio ad ogni patto per sempre abbandonar questo bel matto, eccolo qui, guardate con quell'indevare. And just the pacing of it is really, really important. But the idea of it is that your breath is constantly spinning through that. So to have that spoken line the way Austin did, where it was just so rounded and so full, yet he wasn't necessarily spinning the breath because it was still straight toned and then had that vibrato. It was just, it was so nice, dude. I love the way he approached this piece. So let's just jump into the analysis of it. So immediately, typically if you're doing a recital in front of an audience where it's just you and the accompanist, typically you wouldn't look directly at the accompanist. Your body is facing out to your audience. But what Austin did here is very traditional technique in terms of keeping your head down. And the whole purpose of that is to visualize the world that you're about to create, understand what it is that you're going to build for your audience. Because if you don't know, the audience isn't going to know. So the whole point is to just completely visualize through your practice exactly what it is you want to tell the audience, not just through the music itself and through the technique of the music, but emotionally, through your eyes especially. And the moment your head comes up, you're not looking at the accompanist is looking at you. And the moment your head comes up, that is their cue. But in this case, because it's a much more intimate setting, he's not performing for an audience. It's within this forced perspective through this particular lens, through this video, that he's able to really connect with his accompanist, look at him directly, they can look at each other, and that's when the piece begins. And then he starts building the world, which is really, really cool. God. God is very guttural. It starts right in your larynx. So what I would do to start immediately on God isn't to say God, because it feels very crisp when I come in on the G, because it starts in my larynx. It's very guttural. So what I would do instead is I would round that G, almost make it a very soft K, to just lean into this tenderness where Austin started, where it was God, where the G was still very clean, but it still felt a little bit too raw to begin with. And the way that I would have started it would be something more along the lines of, with a little bit of dynamic contrast as well, starting a little bit softer than the way he did, even though it was wonderful the way he did it. Personally, I would have done something more along the lines of God, because this feels more like a plea, more like a prayer to God. And the moment that you begin and generate that momentum, then all of a sudden you're just within this huge, enormous space that you can play around in. It's like a first step into a cathedral. And the moment you take that first step, all of a sudden you're completely surrounded by this beautiful architecture and artwork and this resonance and reverb. And it's just magnificent. But you have to be willing to take that shy first step into it, or that strong first step into it. But in this case, because it's very tender and very personal, you would want to keep that rounded. You would want to keep that more close to your chest. So instead of having a more strong God, I would prefer something a little bit more like God. But to each their own. Austin's choice here is still really well executed, and he did a really great job with it. And again, he did a straight tone into a gentle vibrato. I think that is the way to go. I have a very difficult time doing that straight tone to begin with, so all I could do is the way that I know how to sing. So the way Austin did it is absolutely correct for musical theater style, and I love it. Oh, and he's so gentle with that D2. Yeah, that was really well done.
On.
Yeah, and on. Really nice open on. So he's breathing in between God, on, and then going into high. I would have preferred on and then high to be connected, and then connecting into the next line. So if you breathe after God, you take that really deep breath, so you could do on, high, and the beginning of the next sentence. But I completely understand that you still want to make this tender. You do want to separate those notes to really emphasize the fact that you are leaning into this piece in a much more emotionally tender way, much more raw. I really respect that choice. Nice crisp H on that. And H's are excruciatingly difficult. And I'm sorry I'm pausing so much. H's are excruciatingly difficult to master in any word because they're just monsters at absorbing breath. And what I mean by that is if you take a deep breath and expel too much air on that H, all of a sudden you don't have enough breath to finish the cadence. And then all of a sudden your flow for the piece is just destroyed. And you would have to work really hard to rebuild that. So if you've structured your piece through arduous practice of the piece in and of itself, and you understand where it is that you're going to breathe throughout the entirety of the piece, you need to make sure that you aren't expelling too much air, especially on consonants like H, that just completely suck all of the air out of you. And it's very easy to lose your breath in those types of consonants. So to have so much breath control is imperative in this kind of music. So really great job on his regard. And that Y just going into the here. Oh, so good.
My prayer
it just flowed so seamlessly.
my need, you have always been there.
Oh, it's just magic.
He is young.
Okay, so he wasn't fully supporting there. One, because look at his feet in this moment. Right there. He's leaning on his arm a little bit, putting more support on one foot than both of his feet, so his breath isn't becoming as robust as it could be. But that being said, this is still a very emotionally tender part of the song, so it's more or less okay to create more of this restriction in the breath. But that being said, he's doing these very long musical cadences that are elongated to create that emotional tug. So in order to make that, you really do need to breathe from your diaphragm and expand that as much as you can to utilize your breath maximally. So I wouldn't lean on the piano. I would just rely on my grounding support from my legs to really energize my body when I breathe. So that's just more of a physical, technical thing. But that being said, the way he's executing it is still very wave-like, and it flows so well. And his connecting threads from sentence to sentence without breathing is so nice. It's a very great way to create emotional momentum and follow him through the piece so consistently. It's so nice.
Is young. He's afraid. Him rest, heaven bless.
I love the fact that he's closing off these consonants at the very tail end of the note and using the momentum from those consonants to go right into the next elongated note, the next word, and it's so well done.
Bring him.
Bring is such a difficult word because NG can easily get lost in your throat. So to do bring him, to have that NG just be at the very tail end. But here, he actually leans a little bit more into that NG and then flows into it, which is another perfectly acceptable way to do it. It's not the way that I personally would have chosen to do it. I would have preferred more of that open bring, and then close the ing at the very tail end of it. But that being said, it brings the note closer to his chest and it feels more constricted, which does play subconsciously on that emotional tug, which I feel like is a very imperative part of this performance, creating that emotional gravitas, that emotional weight and depth within the context and confines of the piece, which he just does an exceptional job in terms of molding these particular consonants to be executed at very specific times within the piece, and it's very well done. Oh, beautiful. Oh, and just the way that he decrescendoed, not completely to a piano or a very soft sound, but just decrescendoed enough from a forte to a mezzo forte, or a loud to a medium loud, or a mezzo forte to a mezzo piano. You can feel this slight decrescendo, this slight softness in the volume, but it still has so much support and power behind it, and it's so nice.
Bring him home.
Oh, and those accents going down, so nice.
He's like the son I might have known.
And this is what I was mentioning earlier, where he just has this nice flow to his rhythm, where it still fits within the confines of the piece itself, and he's not losing any of that momentum or going outside of the rhythm of the piece. But now you have a little bit more liberty to flow with your musical cadence, because this is more spoken. He's like the son I've never known. Let's listen to that again.
He's like the son I might have known.
Yeah, it's so nice because he uses the consonants in there to flow with the piece. He's like the son I've never known. It just flows so well, and it's so good, dude.
If God had granted me a son.
Oh, and just the way he was so delicate on granted. If God had granted. It just flows so majestically when he performs it. It's so nice.
If God had granted me a son, the summers die one by one. How soon they fly.
His belt is so good. It's so rich.
On and on, and I am old and will be gone.
Just how delicate he was on those ending consonants of old and gone. In comparison to what he was doing before, where his consonants were very crisp, but very clean. Old, instead of having a strong D, old, it was old. And that D was just barely touched, where you can tell that the word is old, but that D was just, again, coming back close to the heart. You feel that emotional tug again. Same thing with gone. 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 And you just feel that note reverberate throughout the entirety of your being. It's incredible.
Will be gone. Bring him peace. Bring him joy. He is young.
Yeah, the way he's breathing here is absolutely correct. The places he's breathing is so consistent, and it doesn't feel jagged in any way, and he's connecting these musical cadences so well together.
He is only a boy. You can.
Okay, so you is not a word that typically has an H in front of it. I understand the technique he's going for, which I utilize constantly when I'm singing as well, where if you don't want to start on a glottal of an kind of sound, where you would definitely be one of those, you would add a silent H in it to allow the flow of the music to wander through it, where it would be you in comparison to you. Having that H, that very quiet, if not silent H, allows the flow of the rest of the cadence to flow in its entirety. You don't feel any jaggedness right from the get-go. You just feel the flow. And he exasperated the H a little bit more than I would have liked it, doing you To make that H quieter, I would have preferred, but I think the technique is absolutely correct. Especially in tender moments like this, you really just want to have no glottals. You want this piece to flow with your voice. This very melancholic and poignant plea, and it's just flowing so well though. Yeah, and his straight tone into his vibrato is so consistent. It's such a difficult technique to do, and he's doing it so well every single time. Gosh darn it.
You can give, let him be.
Oh, and just the way that he allowed the B to decrescendo. Let him be. And it doesn't fully taper like I was doing it, but you hear that decrescendo when he does it, and it's so lovely. I love that contrast and that awareness of volume. It's so good.
Let him live.
Oh, nice V, vocalized V. Yeah, allows you to really understand the word itself and instead of all you heard is li, and you don't really understand what the word is, even though you can understand it from the context. To have that nice diction, even in soft moments, is really, really well executed, and I love it when artists are more cognizant and aware of those details.
If I die.
Just the way he shot up to that note. If I... Yeah, like, I can't do it at all. But you get my point, just the way he went up there. Like, let's listen to that again. It was so well executed.
If I die,
Yeah.
let me die.
Oh, yeah, just the way that he held everything. If I die, let... And it just flowed perfectly. He didn't breathe. He just took that deep breath and ran with it to the absolute end. And it was so well supported and so good, so well executed. Loved it.
Let him live, bring him home.
And I love that. Bring him home. Just allowing the ends of the consonants of words to carry into the next word. Bring him home. Like, let's listen to that again.
Bring him home.
Yeah.
Bring him home. Bring him.
That was so perfect. And then just incorporating his chest voice's belt into that. And the vowel was changed ever so slightly, but from that open O to an hum, I guess. But regardless of the vowel shape, he incorporating that chest voice so seamlessly into his head voice, which I can't even do in this particular key at all because my voice is considerably lower than Austin's is. But gosh darn it, dude. Just that technique and that skill to be able to have such a delicate note in your head voice and then seamlessly, it was so seamless, just seamlessly incorporate your chest voice to add this rounded, much more robust power to further emphasize this beauty coming forth in the very tail end of the song. Oh, it's just magic, dude. Let's listen to that again. Nice clean cut off there too. And the beautiful thing too is that he left his mouth open to allow the sound just to kind of stew in that resonance, and you can just feel that kind of sensation in your body. It's incredible. Yeah, and then the moment your eyes start to close and your head comes down, all of a sudden the world is starting not to collapse, but is starting to fold in. And all of that power that you just unleashed in the song is now coming to this beautiful moment of catharsis returning to you. It's magic, dude. It's so poignant, but so cathartic and powerful. I love this execution. Austin, you did such an amazing job with this piece, brother. It is so, so good, man. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please leave a dislike and let me know why in the comments. I do read all of the comments, so please know that your comments do not go unnoticed, and I do take them into further consideration as I make future videos. I'm still developing my Patreon right now. I'm sorry it's been a long time coming. There's a lot of content that I'm trying to make for it and ensure that if you are paying me for this type of content, that it's content that I can be proud of, and a considerable amount of it to make sure that you are considerably farther ahead of any of the releases that I put out onto YouTube as well. So thank you so much for your patience to those of you who have been waiting for it. I want to say it's just a few weeks away at this point, and I'm really excited to unveil it. I have the skeleton of it already made, but there's still a lot of content that I still need to film and edit. So again, thank you so much for your patience on that. My live streams are Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I leave all of the videos from them on my channel. So if you would like to get an idea of what they are, I leave them there for you guys. So please enjoy those at your leisure. Typically there we talk about philosophy or psychology or just ideas. Any questions that you guys want to ask me, I'm going to be there for. And it's also just a really good place for us to vibe and to talk and to have a really nice time. So if you guys have any questions, I'm there for you guys in that regard as well. Thank you so much for being here. It really does mean a lot to me, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.